Well, welcome back to Good Morning Anambra, where we are still here talking about things that affect you and I. And this segment, we shall be talking about Nigerian consumer protection as it concerns us in Nigeria. And the guest we have this morning that will be delving into the matters is Miss Adora Mba, Head Quality Assurance Development, FCCP, Awka Zonal Office. Adora, you're welcome this morning.
Thank you.
And also we have a gentleman here, Sanitarian Valentine Agubogu, who is the State Secretary, Environmental Health Officers Association, Anambra State Chapter. Good morning, Valentine.
Good morning. Actually, it's Agubogu, not Agubogu.
Okay, Agubogu. You're welcome. Sorry for that.
It's okay.
Yeah. And not forgetting my partner, as always, elegant, amiable, Chidinma Oranwa.
Okay, that's me. Good morning. Glad to have you on the show. Glad to have you our guest right here.
Thank you.
I remember that the topic we'll be exploring this morning is consumer protection and food safety regulations. Of course, this topic is apt because we need to be careful with what we consume these days because a whole lot of things are happening. Just recently, we saw they're talking about the Indomie noodles. About
the cancer scare.
Yes, the cancer scare, seeing some cancerous element or ingredient in the noodles and all that. So it is important that we talk about this because what we consume and some of the things that we use, electrical appliances that we use, we also need to be careful of the quality assurance of all those. So let's start with you, Engineer Mrs. Adora Mba. You are the Head Quality Assurance and Development of Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. I wanted to, to say that in full so that people will understand what FCCPC means, zonal office here in Awka. So let's talk about some of the things that we consume and also talking about the consumer protection. Most of the time, the consumers, we don't really know our rights. All we know is we go to the market and buy food stuff or buy anything that we want to use and we just go back and use them. And sometimes when this thing that didn't work out the way they specified that it's going to work out, at that point some of us will feel like it's just Nigeria factor, let's just drop it, let's just forget about it and probably go and buy another one, and it keeps happening over and over again. So when it comes to things like this, do we have a law in this country that says if you buy something, for example, and they told you that this particular item is going to do this for you, it's going to do that for you, and when you get home it's not doing that for you, what are you supposed to do? Can you sue the person as the consumer? I mean, the producers of the product.
Yes, thank you. Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Council, our act actually backs up the consumer in holistically, not just edibles, but also products and services. So, but when we're concentrating on food and consumables, the consumer has a right to healthy food and safe food. So you go to the market and your hard-earned money buys something, you should get value for it. You should get value for it. And when you talk about food safety, it's all encompassing. It's not just the finished product. When we talk about it, we say from farm to fork, as in from farm to the fork you used to eat. So right from when the crops are growing, the processes involved in making sure that you grow a healthy crop, down to the processing, the drying, getting it to those fine products, something like Golden Morn from corn. So right from the corn down to when you grind it and all the processes involved in achieving that finished product. We have to make sure that these processes, that they give us quality, that you get value as a consumer, that your money is not going to cause health challenges for you. So there are laws backing it up. The commission has the act to back it up, and I'm sure so many other sister agencies are also on it. So the consumer has a right to complain to the commission.
To the commission?
Yes, you can complain to the commission. You can even go straight to the person you purchased from to lay complaints. And then many a times, you might not get the response that you want. That's when you run to us. When you come, we now take it up from there. We write them, we table the matter, and then we have our redress mechanism to make sure that you get compensated and to make sure that that producer or the food industry is also called to order. Probably there's something wrong with their processing or something happened with that batch. It has to be recalled and taken off the market. There are so many ways to implement it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You seem to be, while you were talking, my head was just telling me NAFDAC, 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 NAFDAC. How do you, will I say, juxtapose, as in separate FCCPC from the job of NAFDAC? Because most people know the job of NAFDAC, but they don't know your job. For example, if I want to set up a bakery, I think I will need license from NAFDAC for inspection and the rest of it. I don't know, where does FCCPC comes into this? Do I equally need to come to you people for certification and stuff like that so that we don't, let's say, overlap responsibilities?
Yes, thank you for that. A lot of the times we get this particular question. Everybody knows their jobs and functions and powers. And where FCCPC comes in, that consumer, the consumerism part of it. So NAFDAC is there is food and drug, so they ensure that every regulation for setting up is good. And they also, I know they do some routine inspections and checks. Now, where we come in is when the consumer now goes to the market and buys this thing that has been certified or standardized, as the case may be, by NAFDAC or even by SON, as the case may be. And then there's an issue along the line. We are coming from protecting the consumer angle, and even while these standards are set, because for every food that you see in the market, there is a standard document backing it up. Even when we want to set these standards, SON or NAFDAC, as the case may be, depending on the product in question, they also invite FCCPC. We are usually part of the committee, the technical committee, that will discuss every tiny details about that product before it goes out. So now, with this standard document, the company manufacturing now have a yardstick. These are the parameters we need to put in place and make sure that it's up to standard. So now, when these standards are not met and the consumer starts having issue and calls on us, the protectors, that's where we come out. And in some cases, we also team up with both NAFDAC or SON. We also conduct inspections. That's why we have quality assurance and development units as well.
Okay, under your commission.
Yes.
Okay, let's come to you, Sanitarian Valentine Agobuoku. I hope I got that
You
correctly.
did.
Okay, let's talk about how you ensure that some of the food that we consume, at least you are the Secretary of Environmental Health Officer right here in Anambra State, okay? So let's talk about how you ensure that some of this food or things that we consume are certified okay for us to eat. Now, I want to take an example of what is happening where we kill our let me say our cows and goats and all that. Yes, abattoir, where we do that. I mean, sometimes when you go to that place, it's an eyesore. Most of the things you see how the practices, the kind of things that they do there. Sometimes you feel like there was a time I went there, I stopped eating meat for a while because some of the practice, some of the things I saw them doing there, it wasn't okay for me. So you, as a sanitary officer or
an environmental
officer right here in Anambra State, what efforts do you people put in place to see that this place, because I was meant to understand that in this abattoirs, these environmental officers are supposed to be there monitoring the activities of these butchers. So how do you go about that in Anambra State?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I delve into the matter, I would like us to understand what environmental health is. Environmental health is the control of all those factors in man's environment that could constitute deleterious effect to his physical, mental, and social well-being, right? Now, taking that into account, you'd understand that in an abattoir, like you said, narrowing it down to abattoir, there are myriads of functions.
I just use that as an example.
Okay. Part of the things environmental health officers do, in fact, the basic function of an environmental health officer in every establishment is inspection. That is, inspecting in a bid to detect nuisances so as to abate them, right? So in an abattoir, if an environmental health officer visits an abattoir, part of the things they look at is their sanitary, whether they have the presence or absence of sanitary conveniences, right? Because if there are none, chances are that people would begin to answer the call of nature in an insanitary way. That's one. Two, we also ensure that there is presence of drainage system. In an abattoir, they do a lot of watchings. You know, blood come out from the slaughtered animal and stuff. And if that place is not properly drained, either naturally or artificially, then it will serve as a breeding foci for a lot of microorganisms, right? So when we get to places like that, we ensure that things like that are put in place. Then we also look at those that are handling those animals. You know, there's what we call medical certificate of fitness. Any food handler, you know, that when I talk about food handler here, I'm talking about those that handle food that are meant for human consumption, meats, and some of such things. They are supposed to have medical certificate of fitness. That's a test is supposed to be conducted on such persons to find out if they have hepatitis B or tuberculosis. This happens once every 6 months because these are diseases that could be transferred through food to man, right? So we also ensure that they have things like that. If they do not have it, we recommend that they do it within a specific period of time. And if there's no compliance, then we can prosecute such persons. That's another one. Then we ensure that there is presence of water supply. There's no way you can talk about having a sanitary environment when you don't have water. Without water, there are so many things you can do, even simply washing of hands, which is one of the fundamental thing anybody that wants to prevent infection should do. You know, hand washing cannot be overemphasized. Then a couple of other things that we look out for. Then there's what they call slaughter slab. That's platform where they slaughtered those animals. You find out that some people, after slaughtering an animal, they won't watch that slab. And then the whole liquid would now ferment. It will dry up first of all and then ferment. And if you now come to slaughter animal on that platform again, then it will act as a way through which diseases can be transmitted from the meat, from the slab to the meat, then meat to man, you know, and the rest of them. And again, we also health educate. We don't only enforce, we also health educate. In fact, that's the basic thing. Because sometimes people do things without knowing that what they are doing is constituting nuisance. So we also help to educate people. Those are part of the things we do.
Now that you're talking about health educating, you understand, does that cover inspection too? Because sometimes when you educate these people health-wise on the benefit of hygiene in food preparation, if you don't inspect them, I doubt if they will adhere to what you guys do. Like now, a lot of people are food vendors. You see them pushing it on wheel cart and the rest of it all. What is the organization, your organization, doing in order to make sure that the Anambra are safe health-wise based on what they consume from these vendors? Because I know that most of them are not licensed by you people. Actually, you guys don't have the manpower to inspect and cover these people. So what health challenges do we have in this state with these unchecked practices?
I like that part where you said we don't have enough manpower. Yes, we do not. But then the little manpower that we have, we're doing a whole lot, you know. Now, coming to that issue of health education, they are not standing in isolation, even though it can be health education, especially when you set out to do sensitization, you know, on a special program, you can have health education as a standalone activity. But when you are conducting inspection, basically, you don't isolate the health education. I come to you, introduce myself as an environmental health officer, and letting you know I've come to inspect. If I find a particular nuisance, I am duty bound to let you know that this activity or inactivity that you're doing is a nuisance. I should let you know what about that particular activity that constitutes nuisance. Say you don't have a drainage system, like I said in the case of slaughterhouse. We don't have abattoir, actually. What we have is slaughterhouse.
Okay.
If you want to take me up on that, I can explain.
No problem.
What we have here in Anambra is slaughterhouses, not abattoir. So now, if they don't have a drainage system, they may not know that the absence of drainage system is a nuisance until you're able to let them know that it is, if you don't have this drainage system, that when you generate wastewater, this wastewater will not have a channel through which they leave the premises to wherever it is meant to be channeled. And that its presence, when the water stagnates in that environment, mosquito will breed, other nuisance would occur, it becomes unsightly, and all of those things. It is after you must have finished explaining to this person that this person will now say, hey, okay, I didn't know this will cause all of these things. And then the person will not be committed not to do those things again, or rather put drainage systems in place, right? So for food vendors, we conduct what we call premises inspection to most of the eating houses. Now, part of what we do there is that we, like I said earlier, you find out if that person is fit enough to handle food made for human consumption. How do you ascertain that? That person should have a medical certificate of fitness displayed in a conspicuous place, so that anybody that comes can know, oh, this person is fit to do this, and it expires once every 6 months. That is one. Then another thing we do is that we ensure that they put on their personal protective equipment, like their headgear and their apron, you know. Because when you leave your hair, especially those women that bear long hair, chances are that strands of those hair could enter the food that people would want to eat. And it's not only unsightly, but it's unhygienic. And then we also look at their general environment. How do they even prepare those foods? And when we conduct this inspection, especially in most of these fast food joints, we don't just look at all those, fine places that that will always.
The food is being displayed.
We go to their kitchen, basically. Yes, we look at it. Sometimes you go to such places, it's a gory sight, So those are the places we concentrate on, And then if it's a bigger establishment, we expect that you should have things like cloakroom. People that are working there should have a place that they change, right? And then we also ensure that they have first aid boxes. People that are engaging in different occupations are prone to, having some occupational hazard. They're supposed to be treated, taken care of, given first aid before, proper treatment can be taken. We also ensure that there's presence of fire extinguishers. Most times we don't pray for fire outbreak, but then most times they happen. So we want to ensure that you have fire extinguisher that is functional. It is not enough to have fire, because you go to most establishments, you notice that they have, fire extinguishers, but then they've either expired or they are not working properly. And the rest of it.
All right, let's come back to you, Engineer. We're talking about, of course, we made mention of the cancer scare and Indomie noodles, and we heard from the papers that the investigation is starting today after that ethylene oxide was found in Malaysia on this Indomie. They call this one special chicken noodles. But then again, I want us to come to your own commission, because you made mention that you are particularly concerned with the consumer, especially when they come to, report to you about a certain thing that happened. Now, I want to know how the process is when someone comes to lay a complaint about a particular product, about a particular services. How do you handle it, and how long will it take for the person to get, a positive response from you?
All right. There are so many ways that we get complaints. It could be whistleblowers, even from the internet. It doesn't necessarily have to be the individual coming one-on-one, because if we keep waiting for that, then a lot will go wrong. So we see these alerts and then we start acting. When we see recalls or callback, we send out these details to all our officers in the whole federation, and they move to the market and start, bringing in those things out from the market. When we have a complaint on a particular product, it goes a long way. Apart from trying to compensate the consumer, getting the respondent or the company involved to come and answer to these queries or compensate or calm down the person. Apart from that, we still go on inspection. That opens automatic link to inspecting your facility. So like we want to see how come, what happened, what went wrong in your processing line. Just like he said, he mentioned a lot of things that we check out for, from your storage, because they're supposed to have like 2 storage rooms. The first one for the raw materials. How do you store them? Do you store them in order that they come in? Because some people, you keep stacking things and then you don't even know where you started from. And then you're using the ones that came in yesterday. The ones that came in 6 months ago are still at the back. So you're supposed to practice what we call first in, first out, and then you should put a tag, the dates when they came in, so you can track them. Then you also have the storage room for your finished products. Same way, FIFO. How do you take it from the ones that came in last, or do you take it from the ones that came in first? So that you avoid things like weevil infestation, as the case may be. So we check a lot of things, like he mentioned, cloakrooms. How neat are your workers? Are they properly kitted? So all those things. Do you have leakages? How often do you do maintenance? What kind of maintenance do you run? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? When do you overhaul your equipment? Are there greases all over the place? So these are some of the things that you check, because when you talk about food safety, we have a lot of hazards, chemical hazards, biological hazards, physical hazards as well. So it's a lot of things. So if we get a complaint, it doesn't just end at, okay, consumer, please come and take 10 crates of whatever as compensation. No, it's not enough, because there might be other consumers out there that are having same issues and it's not tackled. It might be a batch problem and it's not tackled. You take a beverage drink and you see some concoction under. And it's not just that, please take extra. How am I even going to take extra bottles when I don't even, the sight of it, I might not want to take that particular brand again. So we need to get to the root. You inspect, you educate, you create awareness. And if it's something that calls for enlightening the public, like sometimes you have products that are banned due to probably they didn't meet up to standard or health hazards, and it's banned, we publish the names of these products on our website. We publish it, we educate people, please don't buy this, it's banned for now. Okay.
Sorry, let me just say something that just cropped into my mind. We are in the era of internet, you understand? Yes. This can make or mar somebody's business, you understand? Since you guys are in the protection of the consumer, what can you do in the area of somebody wanting to tarnish some other person's business in order to allow his own growth? Because I remember some time ago, not too long ago, when a particular sausage was being alleged to have pork meat in it, and that doesn't go well with a particular faith, you understand? So how does your organization come into either decipher the fact that actually this thing is not true, or somebody is trying to kill some other person's business in order to promote his or her own?
Okay, yes, thank you. We have that a lot, and when you get these alerts, we don't just jump in. We research, we try to ascertain the claims, Are they real? Is it somebody trying to fight? Is it a case of monopolizing? You know, you want to be the only one selling. Just like I said, we now have our Competition Act in place. So we try to send out people to research and investigate and find out if this is really true. We also write the parent company. We invite them to find out what is going on. Is this from you? Is this your product? Once we ascertain these facts, that's it. It's enough. And then again, when you're talking about, we also look at the labeling of these products. Like you said, for instance, pork sausage. We know that there's nothing wrong with pork sausage. That sausage is made from, you know, piggery products. And it's good for some people. So what we tell the food industry, you specify. You specify the people your products are meant for. You know, if it's for, you know, you see some products, they say halal product, you know. So it's good for people that are from that, you know, and any other person that doesn't mind. You just check the label. These things that are listed that are in this product, are they okay for me? Is there something I'm reacting to? So your labels must speak and they must be legible. We check that. Both the production date, the batch number, the expiry date, we shouldn't be wearing off. We check that a lot. So that's another way to do it.
Talking about these products, do you also concern yourself with the products that are important from outside the country, or just to what is produced here in Nigeria?
It's all encompassing so long as our consumers are using it. So even if it's coming in, and if it's coming in and it's one of the banned ones, sorry is your case, because we'll just...
No, we are not even talking about
the ones that are not banned, we also regulate them, we also check them.
Okay, how do you do that? Because I'm asking because these are the companies that they are not based here in Nigeria. They are international companies.
But there are standard documents. They are international standard documents.
Okay.
Like I said, we also have a body like Codex that people in charge of some of these food regulations. So we don't just concern ourselves with Nigerian products because we know that it's a global world. People bring in all sorts. So what we do, we have these documents, both from international bodies, FAO, Codex, Alimentary. We get those documents. We also work with SON. They give us standards too. So once we check and it's not what it should be, there are a lot of junks trooping into Nigeria, as a matter of fact. And a lot of them are not even regulated. I've been on a routine check and we saw this salt that didn't have iodine. And I know that it's been long we talked about iodizing our salt, you know, for all these goiter and thyroid related issues. So what do? You take them off the shelf and then you sensitize that shop owner or the food industry why they should get salt that is iodized. Same thing, foods that are supposed to have vitamin A, or, you know, like when you talk of food enhancement for quality, we go all out. You don't do this because we're killing ourselves in the end. So whatever that is coming, whether it's coming from outside or we have to check all of them.
All right.
Yes.
Val, let's talk about, because if you had seen the picture they posted, it's about where they are selling vegetables in the market, our local market. Just like she said, from the farm to the fork and all that. I mean, how do you also, you know, grab those people, the market women in the market, especially those people that sell vegetables, that how they preserve it? Because most time you come to the market, you see vegetables that they are weighing out, that you see the leaves, they are already black in color and all that. You see some tomatoes, I'm pronouncing their names so that we know what they are. You see some tomatoes with that whitish stuff coming out of it, and you still see people buying them, washing them and eating them and all that. So how do you also educate this? Because you made mention of health education. How do you also educate this market women, knowing fully well that some of them, they don't even care. All they know is they go to the fruit market, they get their stuff, they sell to people and make their money, and so be it.
Okay. Health education, the place of health education can never be overemphasized. You know, most times, and then they say the job to be done are much, but the laborers are few. You know, there's need that we get a lot of enough manpower to handle all of these things. Having said that, we sometimes do what we call market inspection. We make market people close their shop within a specific period of time, and then we gather them at a particular place just for the purpose of sensitization. These are some of the things we talk about. We're not ignorant of the fact that most tomatoes is awarawa. Awarawa. You see that white whatever that you mentioned, doing their dance on the whole thing. It is actually not hygienic.
People will tell you that it's cheaper. That's why they are buying.
People go to the market for the purpose of buying. Yes.
Give you awarawa tomatoes, awarawa
pepper,
onions, awarawa pepper. I wonder when you eat the stew or whatever is made of this awarawas, what will your health be like?
That brings me to even consumers themselves. While we are trying to sensitize the market people, market women, men and stuff, we also need to educate the people that are going to buy. If we make it a point of duty not to buy those things that are contaminated, in quotes, and the sellers do not see people that will come to buy from them, they will stop selling, right? They would want to do the right thing. So we conduct market inspection. During the market inspection, part of the things we do is health education. Apart from that also, we leave the market leaders with the response because we cannot always be there. Even though initially there's what we call market superintendent, an environmental health officer that will be permanently stationed in a particular market for the purpose of That is where we are even craving on the indulgence of the government to reintroduce, Yes. Because if these people, their presence are felt there, people would want to do the right thing because they know they are around. They can always come. They can clamp down on them any moment. So, as an alternative, what we do is, since there are not enough manpower, we empower the market leaders, help educate them so that they will now begin to do some of these jobs in our absence. They now know that selling of such things that are contaminated are of public health importance, And then when they cannot effectively ensure compliance, they can now bring the report to us, and then we can take it up from there.
Okay. Let us quickly at this junction go for commercial break. Street walk, and then get to hear the pulse of those people we are trying to educate and inform on how consumer protection and food safety regulations positively affect them. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Food production, first of all, has to start with quality. When we talk of quality, we talk of the items, the raw materials they use are of good quality. That's one. Two, they need to put glaringly what we call product life cycle, showing manufacturing date and expiry date. Okay? So it is based on this bracket. Within this bracket, that food should exist. If the food is not disposed of before the expiry date, anything after the expiry date, that food should be disposed of. It's no more good for consumption. The food regulators, like NAFDAC and mainly NAFDAC, should be upbeat in doing their job. And what do I mean? They should rise to the expectation, because we, on this side of the world, what I call illiteracy, so to say, we don't mind. We don't look at the expiry date. All we know is that this food is purchasable. You go to the market, you buy. Not many care for the life cycle, okay? So for this reason, institutions like NAFDAC should be upbeat, should rise to the expectation and do their job properly, okay? By monitoring the food, the life cycle of the food. That way, they will be helping what I refer to as the purchasing public, okay? So that our lifespan can also be enhanced.
Yeah, everything gets back to the government, you understand? It all get back to the government. The Ministry of Health, you know, they have something to do with like this booker, you know, that's selling food everywhere, you know. They need to check them out and see how they prepare the food, that's one. And the environment where the food is being discharged, you understand? Because, I mean, that's the only way to help the health. You understand? So government's got to do it, you know. You have to set up a task force or a regulating agent. Yes, yeah, protection rights, okay? So that they can go ahead and help the consumers because, you know, here, we don't have right here. We don't even know what our right is. That's the most important thing. Yeah, that's their job we're talking about right now, understand? But they have to create awareness for people to know who they are, what they are doing for the people. Yes, sir? Because sometimes you have an agency, they are just in the state here, but nobody knows they are there. You don't even know where to complain if you have something to complain about, okay? So their work is now to go back on the air. Yes, sir? Make sure that people know that they are there and why they are there. Yes, sir? Because it is very, very important that, you know, the consumers need to be protected. Yes, sir? Sometimes you buy something like a soft drink, for instance. You open it, and the gas is off already. And when you want to complain that, oh, this one, they tell you, man, I'm not the maker. You understand what I'm saying? So, well, you know, if you have a spot where you can complain things like that, that's, I think, very important.
Whoever is in charge of regulating the food human beings consumes, they're supposed to do serious investigation about where the food is being produced, where it's being sold to the consumers. If the number one, where the food is being produced, and what is involved in the production of the food, so that we too will know what we are putting into our body. That's number one. Because nowadays people don't last longer based on the kind of food intake the kind of food we take into our system. Sicknesses like cancer is common now because of those things. Maybe they are not stable for our consumption. We're supposed to go through the Food Regulatory Agency to know if it's good for human consumption, and where those foods are being sold, or maybe from the manufacturers to the producers to the distributors, those channels of distribution. They're supposed to know the process is following to see if they are still good for consumption, if the foods have expired, things like that. Then maybe where the food is being prepared, maybe the local food vendor, whether in a hotel or a local bukateria or those along the road, to see that wherever they are preparing is conducive. If this is not good, they're supposed to bring in maybe a thing like task force who will be in charge of running things like that. If the place is not neat, it's not a habitable place, and maybe for people to take in food, especially maybe those who are selling their food close to gutter, drainage system, places that are not clean. We're supposed to have maybe things like task force who's supposed to see to things like that.
Good morning, Anambra. When we've heard the people talk about the importance of consumer protection and food agency regulations, so a lot has been said, and a lot will definitely continue to go on our minds so that we'll know the right things to do. But here in the studio, we still have the gentleman and then the lady that will do justice to the discussions that we are having on ground based on this cancer scare. And let me come to you, Engineer Adora. Please, when you talk about your FCCPC, what is the scope of coverage that you people have? Because most people here seem to be talking about food. What other areas do you guys cover so that when I have a complaint, I'll definitely know where to go to?
Okay. So we protect consumers in all products and services that they must have purchased with their hard-earned money, and you need to get value for it. What I mean by products and services, we not only talk about food, we have electronic gadgets, we even have things like you paid for NEPA bill, electricity bill, and you're not getting the right let's say overbilling and estimated billing, all those kind of issues, we also handle. We used to handle financial issues like banking issues, wrong debit alerts, errors, and all that, until CBN carved out their own consumer protection department, and it has taken up that load from us. We used to have lots of bank-related issues that we were handling. So it cuts across, except for things like land matters. Let's say you have a case with your kingsmen in the village. That one is not our issue. And then things like family issues, you go to public complaints.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But things like gadgets that you
gadgets, appliances, we handle.
Now, I want to ask a question now. For example, I got a phone from the market and they told me that I can use this phone and do whatever I want to do. I can use it and surf the internet and all that. And I got home and it's not what they told me that I am actually saying. Yes. What should I do? And then if I come to report to your office, how long is it going to take me for you to, investigate and probably get me another phone from the people that sold the phone to me, the dealers, or probably the producers of the phone?
Okay, perfect question, and it's something we do all the time. So you get this phone and the specifications, you get home and probably the Wi-Fi has an issue or the Bluetooth is not connecting. It's not giving you what you paid for. You go back to where you bought it. That's the first stage. You go back and this is what is happening. Some of these dealers will quickly take it from you and test another one and give it to you. Before you even take any product home, it should be tested. It should be tested. Let's say it's tested and then you go back and these issues come up. Some will try to pin it on you that, probably you use generator and then it burns something. They try to...
And they didn't tell you that you're not supposed to use generator in the first place.
They are just trying to play on you in order to run away from that responsibility. But people that know what they're doing, it's also good to buy from good and reliable sources. So now they take it, they exchange it for you, they replace it for you. If you have issues, they tell you, come back. But if that is not the case, and they say, Madam Ba, no, we're not giving you back and all that. No, give me refund, or refund me my money, I don't want again. Oh, no, obago, nothing. And then you go home, you come to FCCPC. We ask you to put it in writing, you say what happened, and then you say your prayers. Oh, I want a refund, I want a replacement, I want it to be repaired in some cases. So you also need to attach your copy of transaction, your receipt or whatever that will back up your claims. So once we get it, we also need those people's physical address and their email address if it's available. So once we have that, we write them. Sometimes we call them. And if we write, we give them few days, I think 7 days or thereabout, to investigate and get back to us. Once we don't hear from them, we do a reminder. After 5 days, we have the right to storm that place, Now, in the other case, if they respond to us and say, okay, this was what happened, and okay, we are willing to resolve it, please ask the consumer to meet us. That's resolved. We ask you to meet, and then please carry us. Sometimes we attach an officer to make sure that you're fully compensated. And if they are still, they respond and they say, oh, no, it's not our fault, they're still loggerheads, we invite both parties for a mediation meeting. So it's in that mediation meeting, FCCPC is now the middleman, trying to bring these two people together, look into the issues, what went wrong, was there a communication gap, was he not properly educated on how to use this, whose fault, did your technician install it at the initial point, or you just let him go and use a quack, and now you want to blame, so many things will be issued out. And then in the end, we hope to get to. So talking about the duration of resolving a complaint, it actually depends on the nature of the complaint. But give or take, we have a timeline for 30 days, maximum. 30 days maximum, yes. So, but sometimes, like I said, you can have recalcitrant respondents and then they stretch it for so long. Sometimes it can even move from FCCPC to court. Yes. Let's say it's a serious issue and nobody is trying to give in, because usually at our mediation table, it's a win-win situation. So it's not like you're killing one person. We have to meet at the middle. Thank you.
You've said a whole lot, and I'm really happy to have been properly informed about FCCPC. You understand? I think I will pass your information, even though you'll not be paying for that, so that people will get to know that they have rights. And you
Thank
understand?
you.
And as a Nigerian, you have rights. Whatever thing you go out there to buy, definitely. But don't buy from hawkers whenever you're traveling, because I don't think FCCPC can come and then...
You won't even know their address.
Just before we go, what's there for the consumers? What are we supposed to look out for when we are buying things, like buying stuff at the supermarket or in the market, or procuring a service from a particular company? What are we supposed to look out for?
Is it from?
From you.
Okay. It's a whole lot. Consumers have rights, consumers also have responsibilities. So we always tell them about their responsibilities when we go to sensitize them. So when you go to buy a product, check for the product label. If you're doing veggies and, food like vegetables,
Yes.
of course, if you're buying from a shop, say something like Ruban or ShopRite or those places, please check for the sell-by date. Like that date means when it's no longer fully fresh. Okay. So you decide, and then look out for it. If the skin is shrinking, you know that it's not at the freshest. So the quality is dropping. So, and then you go to market, please check out. Also note that there are some vegetables that are fresh, but the way they made it fresh is not healthy. I've seen somebody wash oranges inside Omo water. They're washing their oranges inside Omo water so that it can shine out. So please, consumers need to shine their eyes. Check for expiry date. Check for BB date, that's best before date, Check out for all those things. Make sure that the product labels that are legible. Even some of the bottled water we take, before you finish reading, your eyes will just get blind. So check for eligibility, because people that are not making it legible, probably they have something to hide.
So in addition to what she said, another thing you look out for, especially when you go to supermarkets to buy items, is if, especially canned or thinned products, if they are bulged,
Okay.
You press it, you notice it's precarious. It's an indication that there's microbial contamination. So you look out for that. Don't buy, even when the expiration date is not yet reached. It means that product has an opening that allows air enter into it, and while the air entered into it, microorganism entered as well. You look out for that. Also look out for products that do not have expiry date at all. Yes, there are some products that do not even carry expiration date. It is when you see expiration date that you can now say, okay, within so and so time it has expired. But the implication of not having expiry date, it means that it's eternally okay. So you look out for things like, it is not possible. So you look out for things like that as well. Then you look out for products that are eating somewhat. It means that there's the presence of rats there that could be eating part of that product. And you don't buy things like that. That even when the prices are reduced, don't buy, because you could be buying disease, and the rest of them.
All right. Well, on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us on the show this morning. We really appreciate you explaining so many things to us, because I learned a whole lot today.
In fact, I was in school.
Okay. Thank you so much, Engineer Mrs. Adora Mba, Head Quality Assurance and Development, FCCPC Zonal Office here in Awka. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And also you, Sanitary and Valentine Agobu, State Secretary, Environmental Health Officers Association of Nigeria, Anambra State Chapter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and that's it on the show this morning. My name is Chidimma Orangwa. See you again tomorrow.
And now, Majudu Chukwuka, we're saying have a blessed day.